What's up? It's George the Fragrance Apprentice. Now, is it still good in 2020? Is that concept even still good? I used to do these videos quite a lot last year, but now so many other people have done them. Is it even worth doing these videos anymore? Well, I'll tell you about all those other YouTubers who have done this is it still good fragrance concept. They didn't have the music. Creed's Aventus. Have you heard of it? It's been around for 10 years now. And one of the rules of this Is It Still Good series that I do is the minimum that a fragrance's age has to be is 10 years. It has to be at least a decade old to qualify. I'm not going to be asking, is Sauvage still good, or is Acqua di Gio Profumo still good? Not yet, because I do feel as though those fragrances need time to become nostalgic and to have digested in the osmosis of the fragrance world. But Creed's Aventus is officially turning, or has already turned, 10 years old. Can you believe it? I got into the fragrance industry in 2011. This was only 1 year old. That is actually horrifying. I can't even believe that. But it has become an absolute legend. I cannot express to you how monumental this fragrance shifted the landscape. There was the fragrance industry before Aventus turned up, and then there was the fragrance industry after Aventus turned up, and it's done a lot of good, and it's done a tremendous amount of harm. It has destroyed a lot of elements of the fragrance industry. It has created a huge thirst for clone companies, and by its diverse batch range, it has created not just one clone, it's created a variety of clones. It has built empires, it has destroyed empires. I genuinely feel as though I could do a 40-minute documentary on how Aventus changed the world of fragrance, but not actually just the world of fragrance, the world of fashion. It changed a lot of things, a tremendous amount of things. But is it still good in 2020? Let's find out. As we did last year, we are going to continue to do the same. We are going to judge this fragrance on the 3 R's: reformulation, relevance, and retail price. Not discounted price, retail price. So, reformulation. I mean, the problem with Creed is that there are no reformulations. There are batches. This creates an unbelievably unprecedented problem. The way that their fragrances are made are incredibly natural. They're very real. Very, very well made fragrances. But because of the very naturalistic way that they create fragrances, and because of the lack of precision with the way that they make their fragrances, which is in a way very good because it allows the fragrance to smell a lot more real, a lot more strong, a lot more genuine, it is also the detriment to the fragrance. Where I got this fragrance in 2017, the Aventus the year previous was not the same as this, and the Aventus the year or 2 years after is not the same Aventus. This problem has plagued Creed for such a long time, and you get so many arguments, you get so many problems with that. In 2018, I bought this, and I bought this from a Creed outlet. I bought this in store. This is a real genuine Millésime Impérial, and we've now gotten to the point, and I am devastated saying this, it has now gotten to the point where this, a Club de Nuit clone of this, smells more like the Millésime Impérial that I'm familiar with and the one that I enjoy than the actual product itself. This is £40. This is over 200. It is not a problem with reformulation. That is just the tip of the iceberg. This isn't a reformulation issue. This is a massive, massive issue where if you like Aventus and you're into fragrance the same way that I am, maybe the average man on the street might not get it and might not worry about it and just think, it's just Aventus, what do you want? But for people who are really into this, There are big differences year to year, and that is why clone companies don't just clone Aventus. You will see multiple different batches that you can choose from. And so if you want that smoky batch, you can buy a dual clone of the smoky batch. If you like the more citrus version, you can buy that. You like the more fruity floral version, you can buy that. This is a massive problem, and if Creed don't do anything about it, and maybe with the sale something will be done, this is why the clone companies are eating the fragrance industry alive. Reformulation, it's far worse than that. In fact, I'm going to hand over to my good friend Brian Alvarez from the Wrestling Observer newsletter to explain my thoughts on this reformulation batch problem.
-5 stars!
Thanks, Brian. It's a big no. Relevance. Well, apart from the question that you can ask yourself, how does a fragrance that keeps changing and you don't even know where you're at with it, how does that stay relevant? The big problem is that at one point, this was the single most relevant fragrance ever. And I mean ever. I don't know if you know, but I worked in Selfridges. I worked in Harvey Nichols for 5 years. I would switch between stores. There would be days where this fragrance saved the entire fragrance floor. And what I mean by that is we would have ranking systems, so we would be competing against ourselves, against our own sales from last year, and from the money that came in from last year. And as fragrance and as retail has declined in general, there would be days where the sales of this one fragrance would save the entire floor and would actually elevate the sales from last year. That is too much power. That is too much money that one fragrance is generating. This at one point was not the most popular fragrance in the fragrance industry. This was the fragrance industry. But as that influx of popularity and disinterest with more designer related fragrances came in, as soon as they started to be cloned, as soon as they started to fall out of favour, and as soon as Creed kept upping their prices, keep the batch variations, so you're having to buy more for less certainty, the bubble is starting to burst. And one of the big problems with the clones and the inspirations and the influences of, because I mean at one point that's all that the market wanted. The only thing that people wanted at one point was Aventus. And so what are the other fragrance companies really supposed to do if that's all that you want? And you know, people putting out Sauvage and people complaining that Sauvage smells like Aventus. Trust me, I'm no fan of Sauvage, but I get it. All people want, like, people would walk straight past the Chanel counter, straight past the Dior counter, straight past everybody, and they just go and buy Creed Aventus for 3, 4, 5 times more money than these average designer fragrances. So what are these companies going to do? They're going to create Aventus clones. They're going to create Aventus inspirations. But there's a problem with this, and it's not Creed's fault necessarily, but this creates such a diversity that I myself like Creed Aventus, but I much prefer, to the point where I could, like, if I ran out of Aventus tomorrow, I wouldn't rebuy it, I'd just buy this. This is my favourite ever version of the Aventus DNA, bar none. I really think this is like 10, 12 times superior, but that's just my opinion. For you, it doesn't have to be. You might like Mont Blanc Explorer, you might like Club de Nuit Intense, you might like the Dua version, you might like the Alexandria version, you might like all these different things. So what happens is that Aventus created its own problem where it became its own competition, because at one point this was the only fragrance that people wanted, but now there is so much to choose from that, yeah, I'm very happy with Iocco Mirage 23. It's far more up my street, it's far more Italian and refreshing and zesty. But yes, it is not really as relevant because at one point it was too relevant. And now people are slowly moving on. So is it still relevant? In a large way, no, because it's become its own worst enemy. And if I was to really think about it, and also the fact that the price keeps going up, I would actually say no, this is not as relevant as it once was. And the third one is price. I mean, do we really have to talk about that? It just keeps going up and up and up and up, whilst it gets more watered down and the batch variations are getting crazier and crazier. And you could buy a far stronger version of Aventus with the doers and all that. No, I would actually say that the resale price is honestly a joke. It's one of the most insulting things about it. Brian?
-5 stars!
Look, I'm actually a Creed fanboy. I love Creed, really love Creed, but come on. Is Creed Aventus still good in 2020? No. Now, before you get those pitchforks out and come to my house and try to murder me, at one point, this was the greatest fragrance in the entire world. It was the best-selling fragrance in Europe, years and years. I don't know about the United States, and I don't know about Canada. Canada actually is very, very unusual. Canada, they're still kind of stuck in the 90s in a way with their fragrances. A lot of fragrances from the 1990s and early noughties are still very, very highly prevalent and very, very, very popular. I'm uncertain why, but in Europe, in retail, in Harvey Nichols, in Selfridges, everything was based around the movements of Aventus by Creed. There were women buying the boatload. There were women fainting and fawning over it. It was preposterous. The amount of compliments that I got from it alone was insane. The amount of attention that you would get from Aventus. I mean, look, I get compliments these days more because people know that I'm into fragrance. I do get unsolicited compliments, but it's kind of like I'm cheating because people are ready, right? My friends are ready. They're expecting me to be wearing a fragrance and they want to comment on it. But truly unsolicited comments from strangers that I didn't know, this was still probably the number one by far. It was ridiculous. It has now moved on to Mont Blanc Explorer is my number one most unsolicited compliment getter. But now there's just too much choice. There's too many options. There's too many better prices. There's too much certainty in other brands that are creating batches that you will continue to be the same. I'm pretty certain if I was to buy another bottle of this, there wouldn't be a difference. There's just too many problems with it. And not just that, but people are getting bored and people are waiting for the next big thing. Well, I'm going to go now, but thank you for watching this video. I hope that you got all of the information, no matter how sobering that it was, about this fragrance. It truly is an amazing fragrance, and I really do still enjoy it, but unfortunately, this is my favourite over it, and I actually prefer Mont Blanc Explorer. It's difficult, really difficult, but I hope that you got all the information that you wanted. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm the Fragrance Apprentice. I'm sorry. You know another thing? You know what really made me mad? You know what really pissed me off about you? You fucking lost to Office. I mean, I'm still not over that. Jesus Christ. Goodbye.